Throw it in there. This is all good, man.
Yeah, it's at the bottom on that.
Keep all these fucking reactions fresh.
Hi everybody, I'm Cam, host of the West Loop.
I'm Kale, yeah, your other host.
And this is what is this, episode 5?
Yep, I think so.
And it's a new year, baby.
We're in the new year.
2020 is gone. We're on to 2021.
Yeah, I'll get rid of that trash year, am I right? Oh, it was a dumpster fire of a year. No.
I mean, a lot of shit went down. We'll get into that a little bit later, but if I'm being completely honest, it wasn't a terrible year for myself. I definitely had some highlights for sure this year.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel bad that, like, there's definitely times I almost felt guilty because I did have, like, I actually had a great year. But even, like, watching everybody else have a terrible one is just like, oh, I won't gloat about that too much.
Yeah, no, I don't want to dangle that in front of people's faces, but it wasn't a terrible year for me. But to all those that were, our thoughts are with you.
Prayers up.
Yeah, prayers up. All right, well, we're going to start this off with our typical 93 to infinity. We don't have anything like concrete for this one, but we just want to reflect on life since 93 going into our 28th year of living. And
28th year on this
it's
fucking
crazy,
rock,
man.
Eh?
You know, it's wild. I actually was just thinking this the other day. I remember we have an older friend, mutual friend, that turned 30 a couple years ago. And I remember just like thinking like, holy fuck, this guy is so much older than us. And then like in my head, I'm like, fuck, we're turning 28 this year. Like,
yeah.
I'm
we made
scared.
it through the Cobain year, man. The Winehouse year.
Yeah.
Smooth sailing.
Well, what is the? Oh yeah, that year. Yeah, like so many people passed in that year, right?
Or just at 27.
Yeah.
So many people die.
27.
All the famous ones, anyway.
What's his face? Kurt Cobain, didn't he die then?
Yeah, pretty sure.
Yeah. No, we made it through that year. Hopefully, I make it through the next. I don't know. I'm not feeling too good, but.
Yeah, we'll see. It's at least it's nice to be privileged enough to just be curious at least. Be like, oh, even if it gets worse, at least it'll be interesting. Like we're insulated enough.
Yeah.
As terrible as it is, but
yeah, definitely. But no, it's been crazy. I'm like, I know we touched on this in the past, but like, I don't know. Like, do you have any like memorable New Year's in your life? Like,
I don't know. I kind of just always liked it as a kid, like getting to stay up late, counting down all that bullshit.
Yeah, no, I think I've always stayed up till at least midnight every year.
Yeah.
I don't think there's been a year where I didn't.
It's just, I experienced it again this New Year's though, but it is like, it's one of the few moments, or a few things we have left anyway, that is like completely meaningless, but like everybody takes part in. Like that used to be like everybody going to church, but like no, nobody does that anymore. So, but like that's like why like the calendar's completely made up. It means nothing.
Yeah.
Like it's just this arbitrary moment in time when we all get really excited about switching something over, and I don't know. Like even last night or this year, we popped a bottle of champagne on our balcony, and then just like all around the neighborhood, you just heard everybody screaming "Happy New Year!" Ooh! It was cool. It's like the only time it felt like I live in a community when living in the city.
I was just gonna say that. Like we did the same thing at our house, and I think New Year's probably has to be the most generally like across the board celebrated thing. Like I know that there's certain cultures that have their own New Year's and stuff like that, but
yeah.
I feel like compared to so many holidays where people like different religion types and stuff choose to not believe or do their own thing, I feel like New Year's is one that across the board is generally accepted the most.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is weird. Like it is strange that there's not a bunch of other different like I know there is,
Yeah, like
but it's just like thinking of like you said, like this is just some made up calendar. Why is it that so many other different religions or groups have their own calendar? Like why have a majority of our people chose to follow this calendar is kind of interesting.
well, I guess it's probably a structural thing, right? Like there is still like
It's harder.
Easter and stuff like that is related to like I think there's like the Jewish calendar, like that's how like Easter and stuff like that is like there's like something it's like a lunar calendar or something like that. And
Right.
then like there's Chinese New Year and like but
Mm-hmm.
the only calendar that business operates on is like our modern like Roman.
What
I think it's like
which
a
is
Roman thing.
huge, right? Yeah.
But yeah, that's because we all have to live our lives according to that one, regardless of what you practice or follow. That we all have to like abide by that, so then it becomes like a shared
So with the
reference point,
Chinese
kind of.
New Year, is it separate to ours? Like, do they still, like they still have their like our New Year, and then they utilize their New Year as it's like a different like it's not like a separate calendar. It's like the whole animal thing, correct? Like it doesn't have to do
Oh, I
like
have no idea.
yeah. I'm not too sure how that works.
Yeah, but I think you're right. Like I think it is tied to like there's like the year of the rooster, year of the pig, and all that. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I think yeah, that's it's that. But yeah, I don't know what it's based on. Might be moon
Well, and
cycles.
that
Might be
leads us to our dumbest Burton of the week, me.
both of us. Yeah, uncultured swine.
No, yeah, no, I don't know very much about any of that stuff, unfortunately. But
But yeah, in the back half, we'll go. We're gonna do a year in review, looking back on the year. So that's why we're all in like the stupid, pensive, reflective, self-indulgent mode right now. But
yeah, this will kind of be a little bit of a one-off to what we're used to, and we're gonna trial that with a few upcoming episodes. But for this one, we just thought, what better way than just kind of talk about because we only started the podcast in the last month here to talk about what kind of went down this year. And yeah, obviously, there's gonna be like the very stereotypical things like coronavirus and stuff that we know that happened, but we'll talk about it all. And just honestly, I think there's going to be a lot of stuff that I kind of forgot, which we already
yeah, I
kind of
know
touched
exactly.
on a little bit in our conversation before this.
Yeah, for sure. Trying to save some of it for not off mic, but
But yeah, I don't know. Like, there's nothing really stands out super important to me about New Year's besides just staying up and champagne.
yeah, that's the thing. Always getting to have sometimes a drink when you're a kid. Oh, New Year's Eve.
Yeah, yeah, I think that happened a few times. I remember we had like standard foods that we ate just for New Year's.
Yeah, we always do
I know.
fondue frequently. That was
Oh,
always
really?
sweet.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's cool. Ours was like seafood for whatever reason. Like sometimes we do
nice.
like bacon wrapped scallops.
Oh
Were
yeah.
classic in our household usually.
What are those called again? Piggies and blankets or something?
I thought that was
Oh yeah, that's
hot dogs.
yeah, that's hot dogs. Something else.
Pigs and blankets. Isn't that hot dogs and fucking
Bacon.
like? Is it bacon or is that when they're in puff pastry?
I have no idea. Uh, now I feel stupid again. Yeah. But yeah, that shit's delicious. And yeah, it just
No,
yeah,
no, yeah,
it's always a good time. Like specifically, it always makes me think of playing games too with people. Like just
yeah, yeah,
so.
yeah. No, I had a good time this year with you all. That was fun online playing some Jackbox.
Yeah, good old Jackbox.
I'm trying to think. When's the last year that we spent New Year's together? It's been a while.
No idea. Well, that's the thing is that I always ended up working New Year's. Like I always do.
Yeah.
So I was like excited this year. I was like, I remember early on, just because my schedule is so like, it's just a rotation, so I can just kind of look at it in perpetuity, no matter how far in the future. And I was so excited this year before all this shit went down. Like, yes,
Yeah.
I can finally like party on New Year's Eve. And that's like,
So does the cycle for next year line up then, or no?
I didn't even check,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Um,
good old New Year's Eve, always a good time.
yeah. Really, not much more I got on that piece.
But to close out 2020, our last dumbest burdens, what did they do in the last month of 2020? We usually go with
Yeah,
one Burton, but just gonna do a whole crew of them this
we
time.
just got a group of them, and I think it's more and more is coming out all the time. But I'm sure plenty have heard about how several Canadian politicians have been caught traveling abroad during this pandemic and during the holidays when they're the ones telling us to don't see our families and stay home, and yet they're enjoying it. So we're
Yeah.
going to narrow that down to Alberta because it's Dumbest Burden of the Week. And we got quite a few of them here. We'll start off with. Now I'm going to butcher these names, but we'll start off with Pat Rain,
Yeah, that looks right to me. Pat Rain.
MLA. He traveled to Mexico. I shouldn't say he. They traveled to Mexico. And yeah, Municipal Affairs Minister Tracy Allard went to Hawaii. Now,
Oh
funny
wow.
thing about Allard was on her Instagram page, she posted a video of her delivering a holiday message in front of a Christmas tree at the Alberta Legislature building. But she was
Legislature.
away from December 19th to the 29th in Mexico. And yeah, so that she denies that this was a cover up to her real location, but seems a little bit strange for sure.
Yeah.
Uh,
Just a pre-canned fucking video. That's hilarious.
yeah. Like, I don't know. That's ridiculous. Like,
Posted it from the beach with a nice pina colada.
yeah, like, honestly, just own it. Like,
Yeah.
as much as you're a dick, like, own it. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
we all know.
I'm,
Like, I'd rather you just do an Instagram live from the beach.
yeah, I'm here in Mexico while you're alone in your homes.
Merry Christmas,
Have
fuckers.
Merry Christmas. Rain, the guy that went to Mexico. Oh, sorry, Allard went to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Rain went to Mexico. They posted a Facebook photo in a Mexican cave wishing people a Merry Christmas. Um, it was shared widely online with other posts urging Albertans to stay home and save lives. Oh my god. And then yeah, this James Huckleby, he's the Kenny's chief of staff. He went to the UK, which is probably one of the more interesting ones because I
Yeah,
know.
Jesus.
Um,
Wasn't there like a new variant there
I
and
can't
everything?
remember when the actual travel ban to UK went into place, but I mean they had that UK variant, and I remember they banned travel completely, and yeah, so I don't know, that was interesting, but that, so yeah, he went there. I don't know what else do we got here. There's probably more people. Um,
No, that's pretty funny.
I guess Kenny's come out and he has said that
Well, yeah, they're not
he's
going to
not
discipline him.
disciplining any of them. He, he said the guidelines were unclear to whether they were allowed to do this or not.
Well, maybe someone should have fucking written stricter guidelines then. What?
Um,
Unreal.
yeah, so a professor at Mount Royal, Dwayne Bratt, said this
Oh.
idea that people were unaware of what the travel rules were, it's not like there's ambiguity in November or early December. It's been the same set of rules since March.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, shit.
then Calgary, CTV Calgary confirmed Calgary's MLA Jeremy Nixon was in Vancouver, was vacationing
He
in
went to
Hawaii
Hawaii
as
too,
well.
didn't
Yeah. He will be returning on the earliest available flight after being told to return home.
he? Yeah. Get back here.
MLA Tanya Furr also issued a public apology Friday after she went to the U.S., which that's an interesting one too. Like, I guess
Yikes.
flying you're allowed. I mean, I guess Hawaii's the U.S. too, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just messed up. And you're right. Like, we were talking about this a little bit before, and then we realized we should have stopped so that the podcast could hear it. But
Yeah.
these people are probably using loopholes of their power to utilize these services. Like, I know WestJet, and I kind of had a little bit of a defendant stance on it at first. I was like, well, I think the onus needs to also be put on WestJet because a couple months ago they announced that as long as you have a negative COVID test within 2 days of travel, they will fly you to Hawaii without a 14-day isolation. So the privileged people of the world, I'm sure, can take advantage of this,
Well, yeah.
and I
Who else
think
can afford to isolate but rich people?
exactly right. So it's stupid, and as much as I do think it's WestJet, or whoever
Well,
for
you're
that
right.
matter.
No, yeah, that's been the story of the pandemic is the fact that like getting mad at people for going out to bars and going to restaurants and going to do shit. It's like, well, the shit's open, and that's like the only reason we haven't had like a coordinated lockdown response. Like, it would have been so easy to shut things down, inject a bunch of money to everybody so they can still order their shit, kind of, but like, and just like lock it down and let it like kind of not spread. But because there's so much pressure to just to keep the economy rolling, to keep selling tickets on planes, to keep fucking going to the movies, to
Yeah.
the pressure's there so that yeah, like the people setting these restrictions can't go or don't want to go far enough, and that's why we've had the year of kind of stop and start big spikes and just overall mishandling of the situation.
Well, and it's tough too because like I'm reading a few of the other provinces, and it seems like a majority of all provinces have had at least 2 or 3 members have this same issue. Um, and it's like the quite a few of them. I'm also reading like they're claiming that they were ailing a sick family member and needing to visit them. This
Mm-hmm.
one was from Manitoba, went to Greece to visit this family member. And what's fucked up is I've read so many articles where there's people on their deathbed in the United States or in Canada,
And
and the
not
other
allowed
family
to.
member can't even cross the border just to say goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and these people are traveling around the world. Like, it's
To
just,
go do that.
it's, it really just comes down to privilege, in my opinion. It's
Well, yeah, of
people
course it does.
don't realize that the privilege that they have, and they, for some reason, let this power that they have go to their head, and then think that by making these decisions, it's not going to affect anyone. But unfortunately, they're
Well,
in
that's
the
kind of how a
public
lot of
eye,
people
and
operate. Yeah.
I thank anyone for releasing this information. I would hope that, as much as several of them probably, it's not going to do anything, but it helps us, I guess, to be educated voters the next time around.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. No, who is this? Christy Somos on CTV compiled a lot of this. It looks like so.
Yeah,
It's wild, and like that's the thing is like a lot of people do. That's how most people operate. That's how we're encouraged to operate is to kind of you have all these rules in place, and then until it comes like inconvenient to you, and then you justify it because well I'm not a bad person. It's not I'm not who the rules for essentially. But everybody does that. But it's just only the people with power can get away with it.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So and I mean, it's kind of tangential, but this is like the same phenomenon. I feel like me and Char were talking about this, but it's interesting how like now like what are we like 5 years now post or like probably four post legalization, 3 or 4 post legalization of cannabis in Canada.
Has it been that long?
Well, what Justin Trudeau first got it in 2015, right? And it
Yeah,
probably
and
took
it
a
took
year or
two
two.
years. I thought this year was the third year.
Yeah, maybe this was the third. But anyway, point being is that just it's
Yeah.
interesting to see lots of people who were like vehemently opposed to even the idea of legalization, and even beyond that, just like demonizing users of cannabis. And just because now it's legal, like this, the sphere has just shifted that much to like now you're starting to see people like, well, I take CBD oil because it helps me sleep, or I eat some edibles because it helps with pain. These people who were like lock them up, they're drug addicts, like just a few years ago, are now like, well, it's I'm using it for good. It's that law was for the drug addicts, not for me, and so it's just interesting, just like that
Oh, I
phenomenon
know.
play itself out
Yeah,
in so many
I
different
could
ways.
rant on that shit for fucking ever, man.
Yeah.
It was October 17th, 2018, so we just hit three
Oh, this
years.
is 3. Okay.
And then 2 years of edibles. Um, but yeah, no, I don't know, man. That shit bothers me to like the core
Yeah.
because it's just like, it's just, I don't know, they're just fucking hypocrites, and it's like whatever is acceptable in the eye of the public, like I don't know. It doesn't make sense. Like, what makes any drug worse than the other? Like, you can find medical based information on pretty much any drug out there. So you could defend the fact that any drug could benefit someone. So who's to say why that person shouldn't get to use that drug?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I don't know. I'm even find myself wondering like whether it's the difference between like, yeah, everything has a medicinal use, and we should never turn away from anything because it's bad if it could help people in some way.
Well, exactly. And even turning away for something because it's bad, you want to talk about something being bad. Fucking the tobacco industry and alcohol industry
Yeah,
has killed
liquor
more
kills
people than
people.
any fucking other substance on the planet.
Unreal.
But it's
Yeah.
become so socially intertwined with our economy and just our society. It's just like people just don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I know cigarettes, you could argue, is different now. People are kind of finally realizing, and it's crazy how fast I find cigarettes are actually becoming unacceptable. Which,
Yeah, that bothered me. I mean, I've been like a non-smoker maybe for like a year or two now. Like I'm still
yeah,
vaping. It's probably more obnoxious, but like I don't know. I honestly find people are less offended by it just because you don't so fucking. And now that as a non-smoker, I'm like, yeah, you don't fucking
it's the
stink for
smell.
hours
Yeah,
after. Yeah.
yeah.
But ooh, when
No,
there's a cigarette lit, oh, that smells delicious. Ooh.
let's put this topic on pause and
Okay,
give
sorry.
people a bit of a teaser that we're gonna do like a whole episode on just me and Kale. Have dived a lot when it comes into just understanding like the laws around drugs and stuff like that. It's something that I'm super interested in, and I think we have a planned podcast coming up soon where we're going to talk just literally just talk drugs for the entire podcast. So,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we'll save that for later. But
but
point
yeah,
being
because
is just that it's this is just to loop it back around the dumbest burden. It's just like this is the peak. This is what you get when you just preach this like insane individualism in our culture. And I hate to be the fucking stereotypical stoner. We live in a society where but like it is kind of depressing to like just see like we are so conditioned to just like kind of just be out for ourselves that like it gets to the point where yeah, just the rules are for everybody else but me, and we're all guilty of it. I'm not, but it is hyper prevalent in that like kind of like free market libertarian Ayn Randian fucking bullshit like psychotic neocon shit that the UCP represent. And I mean, I'm not gonna I don't want to like just go completely partisan. Like that's kind of the problem with all of our parties is that we're all constrained by this kind of like idea that everybody is just out for themselves and we can't build anything on helping each other, and it's really frustrating.
yeah, no, and it's just I don't know. I know a lot of people aren't going to see it, but I hope that people think like allow this to speak to these people's characters. Like
Yeah.
these are the people that are running our fucking province or running our country, and it's like I'm sorry, but I'm gonna just call it like they're pieces of shit. Like
Yeah.
who does this? Like who tells someone
You
to
can't
say
see your
you
dying family or even over
yeah, or
Christmas.
your fucking mom and dad. Like you
Yeah.
can't. And I get it. I know a majority of people did it anyways, but that is just such a sliver of a difference compared to the fucking
The people mandating it. That's the thing.
yeah.
It's yeah.
I don't know. It's frustrating, and I get it. Like I'm not. As much as I don't like Jason Kenney, I kind of understand why he's not going to punish these people in some ways.
Well, why would he? Yeah. Like
But however, that Ontario guy that stepped down, like good for him. Like
yeah.
admit your mistake, and you put the power in your hands to do something about it. And maybe these assholes here in Alberta will do the same. So for that,
Yeah, okay.
the politicians of Alberta, you've been nominated for the dumbest Burton of the week.
Yeah.
Happy New Year, and
Happy New
go
Year.
fuck yourself.
Yeah. See you in 2021.
But we're on to 2021 now, and it's a brighter, sunnier more colorful side, and so we're gonna be happy here and go over this really depressing list of events that
Yeah,
happened in 2020.
with a bright, sunny disposition.
So yeah, I don't know. Kale found this little article here that just kind of summarizes the year in review of 2020.
Yeah.
And obviously, let's just get this one out of the way. We've talked enough about this fucking thing, and I don't want to talk about it much more. But
Yeah.
obviously, for those who have been living under a fucking rock most this year, COVID-19 would be the biggest
Yeah, that happened.
shocker of the year.
That
And I
happened.
mean, it's yeah. I don't know. There's not much to say about it. It was unreal. It's definitely been probably for me one of the most memorable events in my lifetime. I've never seen the world, or I shouldn't say the world, but Canada shut down like it did. I've never seen school canceled like that. I've never seen the economy just shut down. Like it was crazy. Really was.
Well, it was like the first thing to really, yeah, like it's been like, uninterrupted commerce for like ever. And just to see something actually kind of throw a wrench in the gears of this machine that's been just rolling is weird. It's
Yeah.
surreal.
Well, I think and this is gonna sound fucked up, but I think for some people it's just like I mean, not that it's unfortunate that so many people lost their lives to this, but
Yeah, it's horrible.
like I don't know, it's just in some ways I also think that like it is interesting to see how these people that you put into power respond to something as severe as this. And I think for Jason and Kenny's sake, like the true colors were shown throughout this whole process. He royally butchered this fucking
well,
whole.
for me, dude, it's like the whole Western world
Yeah,
butchered it.
I think we all did. Yes, absolutely, for
Like
sure. I
it
mean,
was,
there's a few countries that sounds like they handled it pretty well.
yeah,
One that comes to my mind, I think, was New Zealand, but I think across the board they handled it really well.
yeah. I mean,
They
they're lucky
were
enough that they're like a small island that
yeah,
most people don't
totally.
travel
Yeah,
to.
we don't they don't have like the essential space that we have. And I mean, I think we as Canada were in a pretty shitty situation given how big we are, right?
Yeah,
But we're also pretty unpopulated, and it's still
no,
spread like
that helps.
wildfire.
Yeah, it's still
Yeah,
spread like crazy, but well, that's what boggles my mind. And I mean, I know you have to take everything. I mean, with any news, you have to take a grain of salt with it. But like, it has been interesting to see that now they're fucking having street parties in Wuhan. Like, it's like I don't know when because our government's essentially powerless. Like, it can't. Like, it's just kind of at the mercy of the market. Whereas like, even if it
well, and
is
I
like
think
state capitalism over there, it's like I don't know. They were still able to coordinate a thing. Like I don't know. Yeah, they fucking. I guess there's some reports of them jailing doctors and shit. But at the end of the day, they locked it down, and now it's like not an issue. So like overall, I feel like that was better for their population. I don't know. I don't want to like simp for China because God knows what's happening. But like
yeah,
I don't know. It's just like frustrating to see here that like as we kind of just like did nothing. Like,
yeah, and unfortunately, I mean, we lost a lot of lives,
and that's what the result was. Exactly.
a lot of
It's
lives,
disgusting.
and I know a lot. There's a lot of people that I don't know. I don't really have time for a lot of the people that just don't buy it. But the fact of the matter is like it has been deadlier than any fucking normal flu season that we've had. And the numbers that have been
Obviously.
crunched that I've seen, it's been deadlier than the last like something like 10 flu seasons combined. So
Probably.
it's just like it's not just the flu people. Like it's beyond that. We
Yeah.
are getting to a brighter place with that, though. I guess the other news with under COVID-19 for a summary of 2020 is, and this is crazy too. And I know we talked about this, but I think it's pretty fascinating that we're able to sit here and talk a summarization of 2020 and say, well, COVID-19 happened. And then we're able to also say, well, a vaccine happened. Like
Yeah.
in under a year, our technology and our people were able to come up with multiple vaccines. And now I think Canada's pushing on its third or fourth company that they're approving to bring in a vaccine. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's there. Which is, I think, to some people, it creates fear as to how something that usually takes years and years and years to develop, how are all of a sudden in a couple months span do we have this vaccine created? Which I get
I kind of get the reticence because usually it takes forever, right? And it's because it's for safety reasons, and that's what they say, right? So then when they're all of a sudden, when it
I
feels
get
like
that
they're
too.
skipping steps, it freaks people out.
But at the same time, I also think it's just like, look, if you just try to understand science in some ways as technology, it's like, look at how far advanced our technology is and how fast new computers and faster devices and faster
Yeah,
internet
it's on that
everything is
exponential
coming out,
curve,
right?
right? Like, not only does everything get faster, but the rate at which it gets faster gets faster. So it's just like,
Exactly. So it's like, I kind of try to look at like that. And for me, like, obviously, I want to be somewhat educated when it comes to me getting a vaccine and putting a foreign substance into my body. But I at this point, I'm so done that I want to get back to life. Like, I'm missing family, I'm missing traveling, I'm missing live
yeah,
music. That it's just like, fucking stick that vaccine in me.
yeah.
And like,
Well,
I'm
also
not.
it's ironic to hear that from people that like I don't know. I guess we kind of touched on it in another podcast. I had this weird high guy moment, but like it freaks me out that we're okay with ordering things on our phone and then a stranger shows up at the door and you don't know what it is and you just eat it. But then all of a sudden we're
Yeah.
worried about a vaccine. Like, it's just
Well,
like
and that I mean, yeah. No, you're true. And there's so many things. Like, you want to sit there talking about your vape, right? Like,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
just
exactly. Yeah, I know.
that's a substance that we know very little about because it hasn't been around that long. We
Yeah,
don't
we
know
don't
the
know.
true
We
long
don't know
term
the
effects
long
of
term
that.
effects.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's just like, not that I'm comparing the two, but I
Yeah.
mean, it is something. I mean, at least with this, I
I mean,
mean,
these
you're
ones are
having.
Health Canada approved, so I'm putting my trust in the state that they're
They're on the same par then as the vaccine because I believe those are Health Canada
there
approved
you
as
go.
well. But
Maybe they'll make a vapeable vaccine.
you know,
If somebody coughs, just make
well,
sure you take a haul right away.
yeah, there we go. No, I don't know. I don't got much more to say on old COVID, but
No, that's honestly I don't know. I've had this rant before, but it's horrible because you can't lose sight of the fact that yeah, a lot of people fucking have died, and I think a
and
lot of
that's the
them
thing.
could have been preventable, and that's really horrifying to think. But at the same time, growing up from '93 to infinity, we grew up at post Soviet Union's fall, and I'm not like saying that they were like the good guys or bad guys. History's not that simple. But it is interesting that for so much of the 20th century, there was like American individualist capitalism, and then there's this like other alternative out there. And then, but we grew up in the time in which that's been gone, and so all of our education essentially primed us to think. And it didn't make sense to me until I heard about Francis Fukuyama. He wrote this book called The End of History, and the idea that like all of human history has been leading up to now, and now we live in the present, and everything's just gonna like slowly transition to Star Trek future stuff. Like we did it. This is the best we can do, kind of thing. All we can do is kind of soften the edges, and we were kind of trained to think that thinking you can live radically differently is just stupid. That's crazy talk. But then to have COVID come along and just like radically alter the way the world ran in a way that we've never seen in our life, it was like both horrifying because a lot of people lost their lives, but it's also kind of liberating in a way. Like, holy shit, okay, no, history's still happening. History's not
Yeah,
open. Like, things are gonna get crazy, I think. Like, I don't know.
I like that summarization because I was at the beginning part of talking about COVID. I tried to get that out, but then I also was like scared to get that out because I didn't want to come across
Yeah, I don't want to
harshly.
make light of the horrible human
Like,
cost,
yeah,
but
yeah, and
every
I
big
love
change
exactly how you
is,
worded
yeah.
that because you're right. Like it's so sad that so many people lost their lives, and I've read stories, and as
Yeah,
much as
there's been
it's
some
depressing to read
heartbreaking
these
shit.
stories, I'm kind of glad I did because it makes you reflect, and I think so many people need to reflect on what this has done to them because so many people in this. Me and Logan were talking about this the other night. It's just like this is kind of sidetracked, not necessarily COVID, but it's just like I wish more people would read and understand history and just understand things that have happened to understand humans now. Like, because it's like people just are so quick to judge anymore. They don't take the time to understand.
Yeah.
The like
how people
I think same with this. It's like
work.
people, oh, it's just a fucking flu. Well, you know it is a flu, but it's beyond that. And read a bit and understand it, and then and do some research so that you can have an educated understanding before you sit there and spew nonsense on fucking social media.
Well, just take the moment to
and
really
that's
to
anything, man.
Yeah.
Like oh my god, man, I could go on for this forever, but like I find it especially upsetting in the community that we have in my like in Lethbridge with my city. It's like with our homeless population.
Oh,
People like are
yeah.
so quick to judge with the homeless population. It's just like, oh, they just are quitters. They're just druggies. They're just junkies. They don't work hard. They don't know how to work. It's like, no, you don't understand
You don't
anything
understand how much
with their
work it is to
lives.
survive on the streets. Like,
Yeah.
what the
Or you don't
fuck?
understand what they went through as children or as adults and what trauma they have in their lives.
Well, and
Or
that's
you don't
because either
like
A, that you're right, they haven't like thought about and read enough about it, or they've been so insulated that they've never had to experience anything like that, and they can't fucking understand what it would be like
well,
to.
but I challenge those people because I 100% agree with you. I feel like in some ways you and me potentially could have been those people given the environment that we were
Oh
raised
yeah,
in.
I've been very coddled.
I should be. I bless my mom because I had a great mom that tried very hard to show me different sides and points of views, despite her family being very to the one side. And like, but I had to take it upon myself to discover things and understand things because I would have had a very narrow minded point of view when it came to a lot of these social issues if I didn't. And
Yeah.
I think that I did that because it's like and I just challenge anyone that's just comfort to ignore what doesn't hurt you because I feel like so many people are that they're just like,
Yeah.
you know what, it doesn't affect me. I'm who I am. Those people don't affect me. It's like no. You should understand what's going on in their lives and give them sympathy and understand what they're going through.
Well, exactly. It also helps
And
you understand yourself better too. Like, you just
yeah,
kind of understand how people
absolutely.
work more, and so then you'll understand yourself more.
Yeah,
Not to make it selfish, but like I don't know, like it's the same thing. Like you help people because you want to help people, but at the same time, it also makes you feel good. It doesn't mean that like you're selfish because it makes you feel better to help people. I don't know.
yeah, and to connect that to COVID, it's just like so many people are naive to what this illness is actually doing to people.
Yeah.
Like I know this is just a random person, but Carl Anthony Towns, he's a center for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Young guy. He's lost 8 family members, including his mother, to
Holy
coronavirus.
shit.
Like this guy's family's been ravaged by this
That's
disease, and it's
horrible.
just fucking so sad. And it's like see that guy's life and understand how fucking lucky you are that it hasn't fucked your family up. Like
Yeah.
it's just I don't know. It's just crazy to me that there's people out there that still just don't give a shit.
Well, I honestly think I don't want to be an old man, but I honestly blame these fucking things, fucking cell phones. Like it's just like
Yeah, it
because
plays a
you're just
part.
reading about this stuff through memes on Facebook, or you're watching the news, or you're just seeing like bullshit on your screen. It's like just so abstracted, so filtered, so far removed from the actual human reality of what's happening that you can end up making a sign that like 99% survival rate. It's just like, well, what's 1% of fucking 30 million people or yeah, 30 million people in Canada, dude? Like,
It plays that part, but I guess the other side point is I think those people still existed before the devices did.
yeah, for sure. I just honestly feel like it almost enables.
It
That's where it
does.
starts to get crazy. Like before, it would be people that just like didn't pay attention, didn't care.
Hmm.
But now these people
Well,
have all this sorts of fucking wild alternate theories of what's actually happening, and I'm like,
and I
oh,
think that's kind of what cell phones and internet has done for these people is a lot of those people were probably labeled as
just like
out
one-off
there,
cranks.
but then because there's so many of them that are able to connect now through the internet and through
Hmm.
devices, it's created this platform for them that has actually gotten wider in acceptance because it's going all over the place as to like centralized locations.
Yeah, because it's
Even think
like
of like the flat Earth movement, man. Like
yeah,
there is a shit ton of people that truly believe the Earth is flat, which
more so
is
than probably ever did.
yeah, probably. But it's because I think we have these networks, we have these devices So these people are able to essentially across the world get their message out so much easier and get
Yeah.
people to believe, or people who find people who already have believed.
Well, and I think
But
also like just the nature of like the infrastructure of like social media and stuff. I think because that shit's so out there and so inflammatory, it's almost prioritized in like those algorithmic elements because it gets such a reaction out of people. You're either like,
oh
holy
yeah,
fuck, these people are crazy. I need to comment, make fun of them, or share it to people. Or if you're one of the few that's like kind of attentive to that stuff, then you're like, oh, well, really? I'm gonna dig further because it's so wild it piques your interest, right? Either way. And so I honestly think those things get fueled a bit more. But
yeah, no, I totally get what you mean. This is going on a sidetrack, but yeah, no,
yeah,
it's frustrating. It's frustrating.
I think it's a good summary of 2020. I think.
No, and it's actually, if anything, 2020 has helped me realize that more. I think I was in my own way a little bit naive to it all, and yeah, I just if I have one message to people through anything, is just kind of try to educate yourself. And I know that can come off like a little bit cocky and a little bit, and I've said that to people, and it does come across in a
Yeah, I
really
don't mean
bad
it.
way.
I don't mean
I
educate
don't.
like formal education.
No,
Like,
I don't. I don't mean like go get a
yeah,
college degree, go get some knowledge. Like, no, I just mean read a little, like
or just like
invest some
open your
time
mind, or at
into
least yeah,
understanding. Yeah,
like you
I like
said,
that.
just
Maybe that's the better
experience
way to
different
word it.
things.
Open your mind. I like
Yeah,
that way. That's probably a little bit more polite to
and
word
that's
it.
like stereotypical hippie bullshit, but like
Yeah,
a little
third
bit. Like, yeah, I don't mean. I
eye.
just mean in the sense that it's just like don't approach things with. I mean, we all do. It's unavoidable. You're gonna approach things with certain biases, but you can take some time to try to like lessen that, just to like really just let something like just like take things in and think about them. You don't have to have an opinion on everything right away.
No,
Just experience more things and reflect on it. I don't know.
yeah. I
I've
think
been guilty of
more
that,
like
and sorry, but this is just more of that economy. Everybody's like almost feels incentivized to have an opinion on everything,
hmm
and that's why
well,
I
but then
almost yeah
actually a surprising amount of people that are almost like too scared to have an opinion.
that too.
Like they don't want they live a comfort life, they live this fairy tale life, and it doesn't affect them. So it's like I don't want to have an opinion because I don't want any of my beliefs to affect what I have going on now. Like if
Yeah,
I just live this biased standard where I don't have an opinion on anything, my life will be perfect the way it always has been. You know what I mean? I think
yeah.
there's a lot of people that are like that just, and I
Well, no,
get
I
that, I
understand that. No, it's
understand that.
fear, right? You don't want to shake up. And we're all creatures of comfort. We've all been conditioned to be whiny toddlers that want our fucking Netflix and skip the dishes. You know, like I'm not. I'm
Yeah.
guilty of it as anybody.
Oh,
We've all
yeah.
been raised this way. So like,
Yeah. Yes.
but yeah, it doesn't. It's understandable, but it's not an excuse kind of thing. It's like you are the
Yeah.
result of your conditions, but like you do still have some responsibility to overcome what you can.
Totally.
But yeah, 2020, baby.
Yeah. No, that was a really good talk. But let's go on to the next piece.
Oh Jesus,
Um,
yeah, this was
that
pretty savage.
it's terrible. I kind of forgot that this happened this year. For some reason, I thought it happened the year before. But yeah, on April 18th, unfortunately, over a span of 13 hours, 22 people were died in the Nova Scotia massacre. Um, we were talking a little bit about this before. It sounds like so little knowledge is out there to people of what actually happened in this situation, and I certainly was naive to a lot of what was happening. I remember looking into it shortly after and kind of understanding a few and like reading a couple of the stories.
Yeah,
But holy fuck, man, this whole thing was just fucked up. And I know you said it before when we were talking about it. An American kind of story to come out of Canada for sure. Like
yeah, a little bit. It was weird to hear about, but well, and it just kind of got progressively weirder. Like the more details we got, because where was it? Mostly out of like Portapique, Nova Scotia, or something like that. Like some really small community.
it actually doesn't have the exact town location. It's just stating Nova Scotia.
Well, if I recall correctly, that was it. But yeah, it was just like okay, there was a mass shooting. Well, that's fucked up. Those don't happen as often here. That's unfortunate. And then the guy had two replica RCMP cruisers and like a accurate RCMP uniform. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, that's weird. And then, yeah, I don't know. It's
And he had a list of like targeted victims.
yeah,
Several, I think, were shot there. Considering now, I don't know the truth of that, but they're considering some were kind of random victims along the path.
basically, yeah. He was just like going to hit people and then would hit other people along the way, basically.
And yeah, I
And
know
yeah,
the common knowledge of it is that they believe he had some sort of domestic dispute with his partner, and then, yeah, like I don't know, he like what is this? He was like later charged along with two others. He was supplying ammunition after it was revealed some of the guns were bought illegally and smuggled into Canada from the U.S. Yeah, this is where it gets a little bit out there. I mean,
yeah.
like I don't know. Do you want to speak on kind of what you were talking about at all?
Well, yeah, a little bit. It was just it's interesting because yeah, again, on the vein of it just kept getting weirder. So yeah, this guy had like replica RCMP cars, and then there's an article from Paul Palongo in Maclean's. That's where I remember reading about a lot of this. But yeah, the headline is literally the Nova Scotia killer had ties to criminals and withdrew a huge sum of cash before this shooting. And so yeah, like he had a lot of ties to like organized crime, specifically the Hells Angels. I think there's something to do with like smuggling. They would like smuggle cigarettes from Maine across like the Great Lakes or some shit, and then or like maybe no up to Nova Scotia on the Atlantic, and like yeah, like that's like I guess the Hells Angels' main source of income is smuggled black market cigarettes because they're so goddamn pricey here in Canada. But
Yeah.
yeah, and so I guess I forget. It's a CIBC service, I think. Oh no, a Brinks office. So he withdrew $475,000 in cash, like just 19 days before he did the shooting. So like, I don't know. It's weird. There's just too much weird connections, and like the fact that like for some reason they just didn't activate like the emergency response system. You know those automated texts that you get when there's like a little bit too much
Yeah.
wind. Like they seem to go off for fucking every little thing. But I guess it wasn't like a madman shooting and burning down people's homes wasn't enough reason to set that thing off. I don't know. I guess there was like the argument that they didn't want to tip him off, that they were like onto him. But I think he should have known by
But
that
even
point
if
that
they
they,
were, yeah,
yeah, you probably could have saved some people. Like,
yeah, even if that tipped him off, he's killing multiple people anyways.
yeah,
Like
like that's gonna. He's probably
also,
got to think a few hours later they're onto him. Like,
I don't think a killer on a spree's first instinct is to look at his phone to check if there's a or like alert on it for like whatever. Like I don't know. That's a poor reason, I guess.
yeah, it's all so strange, man. Like,
Yeah, the whole thing is fucked up, and like I know there was a couple police officers that passed. Yeah,
yeah, and I guess Superintendent of the RCMP, Darren Campbell, ruled out the possibility that he was an informant for the RCMP at a press briefing on June 4th. The gun was never associated with the RCMP as a volunteer or auxiliary police officer, nor did the RCMP ever have any special relationship with the gunman of any kind. I don't buy it, but I'm a weirdo.
I don't think I buy it either because I just don't really understand how someone would have access to these.
Well, just how do you fuck up that bad that you let like? Why do we even have cops in every town if some dude can start shooting people and burning their houses down and go on for over half a day?
Yeah, I remember reading a horror story of like I think it was one of the neighboring houses. Um, the guy was burning the house down
Yeah.
because he thought no one was home, and then he shot one of the members in the house, and that was like the brother or sister to the person that was in the home. He seen the body and made eye contact or something like that with the guy, and he had to run into a field or forest right by the house. And he spent like 24 hours just hiding in this field because he thought this guy was gonna try and kill him because they
Holy
like
fuck.
made eye contact. Like it's so fucked, man. Like the whole thing is just
The
so
whole thing was
sad.
wild, man. Like,
I don't know what went down there, but the whole thing is super fishy and
When it
super
was like
weird.
small town shit too, he had like a dentures office. Like he wasn't a denturist, but you could like buy
Yeah.
dentures from him or something. So I don't know. I get the vibe that it was like some small town shit, and he was kind of like the local weirdo. And like, because I
Well, I
did hear
think
one
that's what
story of
they're
some guy like
posing it
getting a
as.
knock on the door, and then like
Yeah.
looked in the like eye hole thing and saw that thought it was a cop for a second because of the uniform, but then saw that it was this guy. He's like, "What the fuck is he doing here at the phone? I'm not answering that." And like didn't, and yeah, thank God. But like, it's so
But
fucked.
didn't to the people that didn't answer, didn't he try burning a lot of those houses down?
Sometimes, yeah, but I guess I don't know.
And I think that's what's so fucked up is you would think in a small town, if someone had already started one house on fire and then managed to go to another house and then tried to start that house on fire, that in even just that timeline alone, you would have
Where are the cops?
response.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know. The whole thing is just fucking crazy to me.
it's so fucked up. It's just it's, and I don't think we'll ever know. That's the most frustrating part of all this, is that it's probably just under so many layers of like it's just in the RCMP black box, you know? Like they're never gonna
Yeah.
admit because they probably there's
16
probably something
crime
along the
scenes, man.
way that will get them in shit, so we will never know what happened.
Yeah. In the end, there were 16 crime scenes caused by this.
Jesus.
That's crazy. Well, we'll end that one.
Yeah, I'm done. I feel bad now.
Yeah. The next one, I mean, yeah, 2020 was a wild year, and the next one just kind of summarizes a bunch of events into one. But obviously, a big thing was the Black Lives Matter protests, um, ignited by several uh, deaths to the Black American communities of multiple people. But obviously, the big one that kind of started the bigger protests was obviously on May 25th, the
Yeah.
George Floyd incident. I honestly like this is a tough one for me. It's garbage. I've been saying it for years. Like it's just ridiculous. I remember when the Trayvon Martin one happened, and I remember reading countless articles on it because I was just so dumbfounded about how that happened. And then the Eric Garner one, like I was just like, what the fuck? Like what is going on? And it's just I don't know. It's there's not much to even I don't know. It's just fucked up,
Yeah.
and it happens here. Yeah, it doesn't happen to the amount that it happens to in America, but it does still happen here. And
Well, maybe not as much murdering. There's definitely that still happens, but it's definitely there's some criminal behavior
well,
still
and
that occurs
unfortunately,
here.
where our parts of where we live, we have a different community that's severely targeted by
Yeah, for sure.
these people, and that is the indigenous community. Like
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's unfortunate, and to those who protest, keep on doing it. Like
Yeah,
I
I did
hope,
like going down to like we drove through Cardston, and it's like right on the blood reserve there.
yeah,
And I did like seeing there was a bunch of sheds just spray painted Blackfoot Lives Matter. And I was like, that feels appropriate.
yeah. No, I think, yeah, I
I mean,
I
not to say
hope.
that Black Canadians don't also experience
No,
much
all of it
undue
matters. Like,
consternation as well. I don't want
yeah,
like to say that it's good to co-opt the movement for anything, but it's good to draw attention to like just again we've talked about how we're like so culturally colonized by the U.S. and then with the sense that people think like people almost operate as if we're American when they discuss some of these issues.
mm. Well, and I mean, we had the Black Lives protests throughout Canada as well.
Yeah,
We
for
had
sure.
we had massive ones, and there was one here in Lethbridge, and I know big ones in Calgary and in Edmonton. So
Yeah.
it's important, and I hope that something can come of it. I know a lot of people are thinking that defunding the police and stuff like that. San Francisco was it that announced that they were going to defund the police through some of those protests?
Oh,
And
really? I don't know. I
yeah,
assumed it just wouldn't happen, but that'd be nice if it did
well,
somewhere.
I would assume that too. I feel like there's a lot of false promises that come to from a lot of these things, but ultimately it's just like it's 2021 or it's 2020. Like
Yeah.
there's just no place for racism and like I don't know. It's just mind blowing that in so many ways we've become so far advanced from the 60s and what went down during a lot of those years and stuff like that and beyond that. And it's just like we've come so far, but yet for some reason this like racism, like sexism, like I don't know, like homophobia, like it's just like there's no place for that anymore. But for whatever reason, it's quite acceptable in a lot of communities still, and I just don't. I honestly I don't understand it. I I don't even know. Like it's fucked up.
Yeah. I think this is another place that like historical context is useful too because like I don't know like yeah they won a lot of victories as far as like it's like culturally like desegregation and things like that. But even Martin Luther King, he started as soon as he started talking about it, or as soon as Malcolm X started talking about like economic reform, like this system is like crushing us as workers, and like you can't get rid of racism until you get rid of that. Essentially, as soon as they
Yeah.
started preaching that, they both get assassinated. So I think it's kind of like we did make some leaps and like yeah, you're right that like desegregation happened and like it's basically put like we put a smiling like a mask on, like a smiling face on. Like we kind of just covered up racism in the cultural sphere as far as like in art and stuff. Like you didn't have to like you could all go to the same movie theaters and stuff now, but like those marginalized communities are still like oppressed like economically. They're still really poor a lot of the time.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
and I guess that's also where the frustration comes in because by not focusing on that aspect and focusing on that cultural part, then you get like a bunch of these like because a lot of them are rich pieces of shit, but some of the like now that you're seeing this resurgence of like this like kind of resentment, racial resentment from like white people and stuff, I think is almost the result of that because like they feel like they're getting fucked over too. They don't feel like they're doing very well, but like by framing it solely as a racial thing, I think they start to like resent it a bit. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not saying that's justified. It's not the right opinion to have, but yeah, that's what we're seeing is just like as everybody's continued to get poorer since like the 80s, you're starting to see these old divisions that used to divide that working class start to pop up again.
Yeah, it's tough because I'm not like being I don't know all the American politic part of side of it as much as like I know what the Canadian politics, but comparing it to the Indigenous community, it's like I've talked to countless people that just don't understand. They don't understand why these people, and it kind of goes back to that rant that we had at the first part of this. It's like
Yeah.
it's just people not educating themselves on what's going on in the world, and it's I don't know. To a majority of us, we understand that this is ridiculous. Why is this still happening?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it still does. And I think a couple weeks ago, I remember reading another crazy article about another um, Black American that lost their lives to a police officer, and it's just I don't know. I don't even know what to say anymore. It's just sad, and it needs to stop.
Yeah, and I mean, I understand awareness only gets us so far, and so even if there wasn't any material results from those protests, like even if they don't actually defund the police, more and more, like many people like that I would not expect to hear that stuff come from are like thinking more about the role of the police and
Yeah. No, I think it's important. Like you said, even if they don't defund the police, even if the police still fuck up, like it's nice to get people on that side. Like there's so many people that still don't fully understand it that I would hope these protests just produce knowledge to people.
yeah. Like I hope
Which is
enough people it
sad.
like attracted to think about it and then come to that side rather than annoyed them and polarized them.
Hmm.
I don't know where that shakes out yet. We'll have to wait, but
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
only way that you'll actually get real change to happen is to get people on your side first. So,
Yeah.
or enough. You don't
Wow.
have to get everybody on your side, just enough.
And then I think that's it for that topic. That's a topic that's just
That's a
it
tough
could go
one.
on forever. Well, we
Yeah,
could
I
go on
mean,
forever
like,
about it. Like it's just like I mean, there's not a side to it to me. It's just like there's a shitty people, or there's just what everyone should be because we're all fucking humans. So everyone should treat each other like humans. Like
yeah,
I don't really
exactly.
know how to explain that beyond that. Like it's
And
just
yeah,
like
it just like it helps. It's because we all think of ourselves. I hate to keep coming back to the well, but because we keep thinking of ourselves as individuals that need to make better choices rather than understanding it's like a structural systemic issue. It's just like
mm-hmm.
if a group of people live in like these oppressive conditions long enough, yeah, it's the outcomes are not going to be good. Could you
No,
blame each of those individuals for the choices they made? Yeah, probably, but it's kind of irrelevant. It's like why
yeah,
question the morality of something rather than just address the problem so it doesn't keep happening? I don't understand.
no, exactly.
Or a guy invents a bomb and kills 100,000 people just like that.
Um, the next thing was the Beirut blast in Lebanon,
Oh, in Beirut, yeah, that was
August
brutal.
4th. Yeah, that was a fucked up one too.
And what was that? They were like storing a bunch of explosives and like couldn't
Yeah,
ship them
ammonium
out of the
nitrate.
country.
Yeah,
So they were just sitting there forever and degraded.
yeah, yeah. A bunch of ammonium nitrate was stored in some place. I'm not really too sure
It
what.
was in like the harbor in just like a
Yeah, it was in the
warehouse,
harbor.
like just sitting, chilling.
More than 200 people have died as the result of the blast. Left thousands hurt, many missing, caused damage as far as 10 kilometers from the blast.
Holy fuck.
It's crazy. Like I remember how big of a deal this was, and this speaks to kind of our culture over here in our Western society. This was such a big deal, but you can't imagine what's going on in Lebanon because of this. And I haven't heard fucking shit after in
No,
months
the
from
news cycle's
this,
too
and this
quick,
just
man. You can't.
happened in August. Like,
We're not allowed to pay
um,
attention to anything for more than 2 weeks before we all
yeah,
move on. So
um, yeah. The explosion was seen as a clear example of the government's neglect and mismanagement of the country, with calls for reforming continuing to this day. They've had several aid fund and help them. An investigation is now underway to determine how things went wrong, but it remains to be seen. They don't really know.
nope.
I
I
remember
heard it
just
was some
seeing like
shit
some
like
fucked up videos, and I remember like I
yeah.
watched this video of this like professional photographer taking a video of this newly married couple, and like they're like posing for photos, and like you could tell like all of a sudden there was like the sound, like they were hurt, but I think they all lived in the video, like they were further
Jesus.
enough from the blast, but it was just like intense. Like I just can't even imagine
No.
that, man. Yeah, just the trauma alone from that is fucked up.
Yeah. So that's what their government does, and then but we're mad that we're not allowed to go have. I want to go to Original Joe's for a beer.
Yeah,
This is tyranny.
definitely, man. All right,
Fucking
so from there we have the Australian wildfires. Um, yeah,
yeah, that
I
was
remember.
pretty fucked up.
I think I know this is going to be a little bit um, much, but it's like the wildfires are becoming a blur to me because it just seems every fucking year, like California, BC, like everywhere is just burning up like crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, this
but
is the future, baby.
yeah,
This is
I
what
mean,
we're inheriting.
record-breaking temperatures and severe droughts. You know, it's gonna cause some wildfires, and yeah, it was pretty crazy in Australia.
I'm sorry, this makes me angry though. The fires were the costliest natural disaster in Australia's history, with economists estimating the fires may have cost over $100 billion in property damage and economic losses. That's how you measure the costliness, not in the paragraph before where you tell that tens of millions of acres of lands were scorched and 3 billion animals died or were impacted during the fire season. That seems pretty fucking costly to me. I don't really give a fuck about property damage. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah.
Holy shit.
I mean, the animals, it's sad.
And just like
obviously
the land,
3
man.
billion. Well, the land. I don't know. I need to research more on this. I read a few articles when it was happening in Canada. But I've read, like, obviously tens of millions of acres is a bit much.
Yeah.
I've read in some ways forest fires.
No, forest
really
fires are intentional, but the way in which we kind of like artificially prolong them or like defer them, it just makes it way more destructive to the point where it's like harder for the ecosystem to recover than if we just kind of let it.
Right.
And also, we're kind of throwing that balance out of whack globally with the global climate.
Well, yeah,
like,
totally.
Yeah, it's not meant to burn like that, or the balance that used to be struck by burning in those seasons. Now it's too much, kind of thing. That it's just like devastating. But I'm also talking about IAS too, so I don't know. Maybe I should educate myself for it.
No, well, but you have in a way, right, man? Like,
well, I've read a bit about it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fucking biologist by any stretch,
but. You want to take the next one?
What are we at here? Fucking the wet and protests. That was nice to see. I don't know, like that was another thing that just was on the news for a week and a half, and then nobody talked about it ever again. And, but it did definitely elucidated some people's real feelings that I did not expect to see as those were happening. But yeah, so like land rights have obviously been an issue for a long time. But yeah, so in Ontario they were blocking trains. It was like a CP rail blockade, I think. And then there was a lot of like solidarity blockades and strikes and stuff like that, both here in Alberta and kind of like across the country. But yeah, it was intersections. For weeks, protesters targeted railways, ports, and urban intersections, declaring reconciliation dead and halting the shipment of goods from coast to coast. It left Canadians frustrated and divided as the economy slowed and blockades went on for weeks. Like, why would most Canadians be frustrated by that? How does that affect? Like,
well, I mean, I could speak to the wrong side of the argument.
That's what I mean. Like, how can they feel frustrated? Like, that's ridiculous. Like,
no, I don't know. I don't even know what to say when it comes to this. It's just these measurements were put in several years ago, right? So it's just like they have their land, like, and like let them use it, like, and like, why are we like, I don't know everything that like stemmed to this. I feel like some of it was a bit of pipeline stuff, right? Wasn't it?
So it was the Mohawk supporters in Ontario at Camp 49 that were blocking trains, and I think that was in solidarity for the Wet'suwet'en ongoing dispute. I forget which pipeline it is, but I think I feel terrible. Again, this is my white boy ignorance, but like as far as I understand, yeah, they're essentially just forcing a pipeline through on Wet'suwet'en territory.
Yeah,
and so there's a lot of solidarity strikes.
It's just it speaks to the privilege again, because it's just like, so we gave the Indigenous people the right to a bit of the land that we took away from them.
We just
and then now we're like, oh well, this pipeline is super important. So you know what? Actually, we're gonna take a little bit more back, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, and
exactly.
And you know what? We're not gonna give you access to clean water, and it's just like a bunch of pile of shit. And then people wonder why these people struggle. Like, I don't know. I could vent about that shit for hours. It's just like,
well, it's inspiring. Wait, people actually getting out and fighting to change things to better their community. Again, I feel like that's just such an alien concept to us fucking coddled people to like actually put things on the line, to like risk something to try to make things better for yourself and like your community. We're so far removed from that. And then I honestly think, again, it's a fear response from people that are like, then they just have to almost react like they're deluded, petulant children. Like, oh, just suck it up. It's a decent deal.
Well, and I think it's unfortunate because that happened so long ago that we live in a time now, and even to older generations, because I've heard it from fucking older generations, they feel as though in order for we as a country to move forward, we need to understand that this was in the past, and that if we are all Canadians, we should all share the land and have the same equal rights and the same privileges as everyone else. And for whatever reason, these certain individuals see as though these people have advantages
Oh my God,
over us, which is just fucking mind blowing.
Absurd.
That there's people out there that actually think that.
Yeah.
And don't understand. And again, I keep reflecting back to what we were talking before. Educate themselves enough to understand, like, A, what they went through, and B, just because we didn't face it in our lifetime doesn't mean it should be something that's forgotten.
Well, yeah.
Like, then what is the point of even having history? Like,
well, exactly. And I just don't understand. Like, they can't imagine someone else, like, the idea that we need to move forward as a country and just accept that we're all Canadians is just like, well, implicit in that concept of Canada is just accepting that this is Canada now. Like, these people, like, they never agreed for a long time. Nobody ever agreed to, like, not have their own nation. Like, that was literally what the treaty was about, was they got to keep their own fucking country, essentially. Like, and
right.
Like, so then they're already missing the point that, like, oh, we just need to move on as Canadians. It's just like, no, they don't want to be Canadians. The only reason Canada exists is because their entire culture was wiped out. And a lot of their ancestors murdered. Why would they want to be part of that? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Like,
but it's crazy, man. How many people just don't think that we should consider that a problem anymore? And that's without even talking about residential schools.
Yeah, which were like what, 96 was the
last exactly
year one closed, like fucking a long time ago, my ass.
Yeah, I don't know. It's fucked up, and I don't know. I get fucking angry when I talk about it.
Yeah, because you start getting a little impassioned here. But
yeah, I just get frustrated, man, because it's just like it shouldn't be an argument anymore. Like, and it's back to like the Black Lives Matter thing. It's like, we're all fucking humans. Like, can't we just treat each other like equals and just fucking get through this crazy fucking life without fucking each other over all the time? And it's just, fuck, man. Like, I don't know.
I think the best way to approach that, though, is just like, because it helps me understand both like the way things are and also why people think in those kind of fucked up ways. It's just like, because everything's structural and like both like hereditary trauma, whether it's like epigenetic shit or whether it's just like living in a community that's been destroyed. So yeah, you're right that like generational trauma occurs, but not only that, it's just like remnants. Like, essentially, even if it's different now, 3 generations ago we still had more advantages, and so then like those successive generations will just be better off as a result. Like, yeah, it happened a long time ago, but both the effects on individuals and the structural effects still cascade down generations later.
Absolutely. And for whatever reason, those people that had that privileged side to that can understand that, but they can't understand to the people that faced traumas or faced like unfortunate things in their life, which it's just, it speaks to them not understanding and like to understanding privilege. I feel like that's such a thing that people, like, out of anything that you need to like just understand and educate and get knowledge on, is just your privilege. The fact that we're able to sit here and talk about this, I mean, we have privilege. Like,
yeah, we're in the global 1%. Like, so like,
yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's frustrating, and this just speaks to another unfortunate situation where we make individuals who are already facing so much, and we're just like, no, fuck you. We're gonna build a pipeline. We're gonna fuck up your land. Like, it's stupid. Like, I don't even know. And I mean, we can segue these two together. The one good benefit, I think, for me anyways, is the U.S. presidential election.
Oh God, I'm so happy that's over.
But how I'm connecting the two, at least, is my understanding is Joe Biden has no plans to allow the pipelines that have been talked about.
Yeah, I mean, Obama vetoed them too, but like, I don't know, man. I don't know if he was any more likely to do it than Trump was. Like,
yeah, I honestly don't.
I don't know enough about them, but it's interesting, like that, like we think of the U.S. presidential election in context of pipelines, like.
Well, I just know that that's a huge argument in Alberta of why Joe Biden's bad for Alberta because he doesn't want the pipelines and Trump does, and I don't.
It's just like, it depends. It doesn't really matter if Joe Biden or Trump won it. It depends whether or not it's good for American business. So,
Yeah,
I don't know.
totally.
It depends. If the government's footing the bill for it, yeah, it'll go through, and then like so that these Texas oil companies can make a bunch of
I
money
guess the
shipping our crude
one
down there.
benefit comparing the two would be Biden does, and I shouldn't say Biden, I should say his team
Yeah.
sees the benefits to like investing in like climate change and looking at that as a whole and getting back into the Paris Accords and just all that shit, right? Like, so that's important, which I think would also hopefully attest to them potentially wanting
Yeah,
to
I
back
don't
out of
know.
deals
I
on the brown.
think like they're just the nice face for the machine, right? Like it's just gonna keep going. It's
Oh,
not.
I get that, man.
They
I
might
not
invest like green energy and stuff, but the problem is the amount of production and consumption that we do, and they don't want to address that because that's what keeps the whole fucking house of cards up. So
yeah. No,
I don't
I
know.
know.
Yeah,
I
I hate to be the
like
downer, but it's
it's
just like
what no, but it's what I say when it comes to politics all the time. It's like it's the lesser of two evils, I guess, in my opinion.
yeah, exactly. So then they'll subsidize some green energy companies, and there'll be more solar panels in the city, so that the people that care about this stuff will feel better about their lives because they feel like we're greening things.
Mm-hmm.
But things are generally the same.
Yeah,
Like,
I think just on so much like reflecting on some of the topics that we've talked about that I think that's super important is like the race topic and stuff like that. Like, I do think getting someone like Donald Trump out of there was important for that. And
yeah, I think it'll like
even to
kind of
those
like
communities that need that hope, having someone like Kamala Harris in office is like super empowering to them. Which I get it. Like everyone has their own opinions on Kamala Harris as a person and on Joe Biden as a person, but putting that aside and just the fact that seeing a first woman and a first African American woman, like that's super
yeah.
important, right? Like,
I get the representation thing. Yeah, I mean, if it makes some young like Indian girl feel better, that's great. I'm happy for it. But it's just like I wonder if her life is actually gonna get better with Kamala, and probably not. Like,
mm-hmm.
if it makes them feel better, that's nice. I guess it's just. I honestly think it's kind of almost a release valve, like the building pressure, the building momentum for like racial justice. I think almost kind of might like lose steam now because they
Mm-hmm.
feel like they have kind of a victory in that. But I mean, did you hear that? Did you see that video leaked of a bunch of like Black Lives Matter organizers and like the NAACP, like the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People or whatever, that old
um,
organization?
I didn't know.
Anyway, there was a meeting where they all met with Joe Biden, and he essentially went unhinged, just like, "What the fuck are you still at?" Like, this is paraphrasing, but he was essentially, "What are you still asking me for things? I said Charlottesville was bad. What more do you want? Like, I did everything I'm gonna do. Get out of here. Why are you asking for more?" Essentially, like he had like a
Oh,
full,
sorry, yeah, I totally do. I
like
do
a full
remember that now.
dementia meltdown. Like, get out of here. Like,
Yeah.
I was just like, "Ooh, yeah, okay." See, like the whole,
Mm-hmm.
he'll be nicer. We'll get him in and we'll push him left. Okay.
Yeah. No, I have my own like own battles with Joe Biden, man, and this is weird and definitely such a minor issue compared to a lot. But I watched a really cool documentary on Coachella, and when he was in power in California, he was a huge dead set against banning outdoor music festivals
Yeah,
because
dude,
he
he did the
felt
whole rave act.
yeah, he felt as though that they were just these
Dens of drug use and
dens of
yeah.
drugs, which I mean he's kind of not wrong, but why is that a big deal? Like, why
Why
is
is that a
that
bad thing at
bad?
all?
Yeah. So I don't
Yeah.
know,
No, yeah,
but
he's been a cretin. He's been a right wing Democrat. That's been his thing for his entire career is like I'm a Democrat, but I'm the most right wing you can possibly be and still be in the party so that I can like be buddy buddy with the Republicans and get things done. I get things done, which he means I compromise with these fucking ghouls and give them
yeah,
what they want, but put a nice face on it. That's literally been his entire career, and I'm like, well,
no, again, I get it. He's not going to solve everything. He's
and
not
I
going
hate
to
to be a
be.
downer. Like, yeah, no,
No, you're not. You reflect on things that like I probably don't think of all the time, and ultimately, I guess I just kind of go on like I said, like the lesser of two evils. I still
yeah.
think it's probably better than having Trump in. As much as we've talked about Trump is very entertaining.
I know you're right. You're right. I
Um,
don't want to get that confused either. Like I know lots of people get mad at like somebody like what was it? Oh, like Noam Chomsky was saying, you should probably vote for Biden. And I'm like, yeah, obviously.
yeah,
I'm not gonna delude myself and do like mental gymnastics into convincing myself that somehow it's actually good if Trump would like.
No, exactly.
Oh,
Yeah. No, I know that. But yeah, no, it's still
kind of
going
dumb,
down.
man.
It's funny, we talked about this. Apparently, Trump has already been talking about starting up The Apprentice again.
Nice.
Yeah. Because I was curious. I was like, I wonder how long. Like, I know his life is Hollywood and everything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm curious how long it takes before he kind of transitions back into that. I know he never fully ended, but he was president and he didn't have time for a lot of that.
I wonder if he'll have like
used
a bigger draw or less of a draw because like he was so polarizing. Like whereas before maybe
I
some
feel
like
I'll have a bigger draw. I think he'll do. I think he'll because like there's going to be his people that are like, yes, we want Trump.
Yeah.
We need Trump again. And then there's going to be so many of the other people that are like, I have to watch this because this is crazy.
Yeah.
So I think it will probably have a massive draw.
That's
and
funny.
I'm sure it's going to happen. I mean, yeah, I can't see it not happening.
What a world. What a world.
The next article is probably, I don't know. A lot of these articles seem really depressing and sad, but this one really fucked me up. I know not everyone idolizes sports figures, but was Kobe Bryant's death on January 26th. Him and his daughter Gianna.
That's pretty fucked
and
up.
7 others were in a helicopter crash in Tallahassee, California, and all
I kind of forgot about that.
which were announced dead. Yeah, I remember reading it just at first I thought it was fake. I immediately thought it was fake. I had to Google because I think I seen something on Facebook that was shared, and so I had to Google it, and then it's like, holy fuck, no, this is real. And I was seeing more tweets about actual prominent people, and it was, yeah, he had literally retired 2 seasons before this, and just kind of getting to enjoy his life, had young kids at home.
Yeah, he won an Oscar.
Beautiful wife. Yeah, fucking won an Oscar for his documentary, or not documentary.
It was like a short animated film.
Right? And yeah, man, just fucking sad. Yeah, and kind of
bummer.
Not to. I think the other biggest thing too is there's a lot of other lives that were lost in this, and young lives, which I think affects me more than other. And
that's fucked up. I didn't know his daughter was 13. That's pretty fucked up.
Oh man, it's so sad. Yeah, that's one thing that really, really gets to me is I know this kind of, I get considered to be desensitized when I say shit like this, but when older people die, I'm just it doesn't faze me as much. It's just oh, it's sad, but they got to enjoy life. When a 13-year-old girl dies, it's just that to me is sad. I don't even care if I know her. It's just that's so sad.
Well, I'm just a big softie that anybody dying kind of bums me out. But...
Well, and I am too, and it's anyone dying is sad, and especially when it affects me, of course I'm going to be sad. But I don't know, I just think to an 80-year-old person, they got to enjoy this life for 80 years, which not a lot of people get to ever say that they enjoyed this.
And it depends what the future. If they're still healthy and they go, I'm oh, that's kind of a bummer. But
yeah, and I know that the other big argument that I've had when I said that is, how do you know that they enjoyed their life for 80 years? Well, it's just well, they had 80 years to fucking try and enjoy it at least. It's just
more than this person.
Yeah, it's just not a 13-year-old girl. That's crazy. But yeah, rest in peace, Kobe. So sad.
Yeah.
But
and that was honestly, this is I feel bad because I never had a big connection to basketball in general, let alone Kobe Bryant. But what kind of honestly was a big trigger for me to fucking start quitting social media, specifically Twitter, was the reaction to this stuff. Because I mean, basically everybody was just replying that, because I guess he's done some maybe not great things in his life too.
Yeah, he had a case in his early years. It sounded like a sexual assault or potential situation. Yeah,
maybe he was a piece of shit. Maybe, but at the end of the day, you're right in the sense maybe if he hadn't already changed, maybe he could. Maybe he could have maybe there was a net positive of him being in the world. That's kind of besides the point. Is that just why race to be the person to bring that shit up as it's happening, or go out of your way to people that are grieving to say that, if somebody asks you if you're sad about it happening and you're not because of that, then say that. But just like there's the toxic nature of wanting to be the person to shit on someone's parade or to like just actually people all the time is just so fucking annoying to me.
Yeah, and especially when someone's passed.
As someone who's very guilty of being that person, I don't like that.
I think I've been guilty of it too in some ways, and I mean, it's unfortunately too like we live in a very desensitized world now with the internet. I think it took maybe a day or two after his passing for someone to send me a very offensive meme, but
that was probably me too.
Did I laugh? I probably did, but it's just that's I don't know. It's the world we live in, and I agree. Like that Twitter shit it's stupid, and
you got to find that balance. It's good to have that kind of ironic distance from things that aren't immediately affecting you, because if you get too wrapped up in them, you're gonna be really psycho and depressed. So like it kind of helps to kind of make those kind of jokes to kind of like you can distance yourself from it. But to get lost in that is just as unhealthy, I think, as getting wrapped up in the emotion of it. Just like the super, just kind of like the defensive irony kind of thing. Like you gotta kind of remember that people are people and have some kind of warmth towards them every now and then, or you'll be an annoying asshole.
Yeah. All right, let's segue this to the next one.
Yeah. Oh my god, I forgot that fucking plane got shot down in Iran.
Yeah, the Iran plane crash. I'm not like super familiar with this one. I definitely know it. I remember like the 63 Canadians were killed in it. Several which were from Edmonton. I believe it was like a bunch of Edmonton were like going to a wedding or coming home from a wedding. So fucking sad, but
Jeepers.
Yeah. This is a really depressing article.
Yeah, I didn't think it'd be that bad. But yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that like the Iranian government tried to say that it was just like an engine failure, and then like after pressuring from 3 days, they admitted that the military had shot it down. Yeah, but that was in the midst of high alert amid tensions with the U.S. and Iraq. That must have been around the same time that fucking Trump assassinated Soleimani.
I think it was.
Yeah, so like again.
Well, it was January.
I'm not like simping for some authoritarian regime, whatever you want to call it. Like I don't think in the terms of good and bad guys, but at the same time, everybody's so quick to paint Iran as some like psycho villain. It's just like, well, you just murked one of their top dudes. Of course they're going to be a little triggered jumpy, you know? Like,
yeah.
Like, no, it's totally sad. I'm not making light of people that died, but like,
yeah,
all around fucked up. Everybody fucked up in that situation.
We already touched on the COVID vaccine.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully that's the beginning of the end for this.
This is an interesting one, as the COVID in sports, and I think this kind of just speaks to the how much it affected like everyone, rich or poor, just kind of thing.
Yeah.
I can't say it like other than just strikes and stuff like that. Have I seen like literally all the seasons just shut down like that?
Yeah, it was pretty wild.
And then, I mean, I think you've seen an interesting / very privileged thing of bubbles form, which, I don't know, I'd be a liar if I said I didn't enjoy basketball coming back, and I think the NBA did a really interesting job in handling their bubble. But, yeah, they were also testing their players twice a day, which... kind of fucked up when you
That's what I was thinking, man. The fact that there's rapid testing for sports and like movie sets and like entertainment events, they have rapid testing for that, but not at every fucking hospital.
But that just speaks to
what the fuck
what was going on before in some ways, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
these people don't care about the normal.
Well, yeah, sports make way more money than hospitals, so
yeah. New Westminster purifier. What the fuck is this one?
What?
The new Westminster purifier.
I feel bad. I don't even remember that at all. Somebody burned it down. Yeah, I don't know. I honestly feel like that's kind of what we got. What we were supposed to feel bad for the snowbirds. That's pretty much all we got left in this year-end review. I don't really. Oh no, never mind. Sorry, a snowbird's crashed. I thought they were talking about like old people snowbirds, like that industry crashed because they weren't allowed to go anymore.
No, man, they were flying across Canada to give people hope for COVID-19.
Whoops. I was like, oh man, like the Sedona, Arizona economy's crashing because there's no 80-year-old Canadians here anymore.
Oh god, that was a good little slip there. Sorry, Jennifer Casey, rest in peace.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But yeah, I remember that was kind of sad. Like it was sad. Like
kind of a bummer. Operation Inspiration.
You're savage.
I'm sorry.
You're fucking savage.
Oh man. Sorry. So speaking of ironic distance, Jesus, I'm sorry. I'm a terrible person, but that feels like a Simpsons joke, like plane taking off with the banner, Operation Inspiration.
Yeah, I can see that.
Oh my god. Terrible. 2020, you've turned me into a piece of shit.
Did you just read this BC election thing?
No, I didn't.
Apparently this was big. I remember this happening. They went to the polls.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I can't believe Horgan got back in again. Oh yeah, that was hilarious though.
Oh god.
What?
Who is Horgan the leader of what party?
NDP.
He won?
Yeah.
After saying that?
Yeah.
Ooh.
But
I guess the liberal leader here did
yeah, dude, that was wild. That's funny. He was like, I think he was like roasting like an NDP like politician, but it was in the context of like they were making fun of another liberal guy that he gets too horny when this NDP chick's around because she's like dresses inappropriately or something. It was like on a Zoom call that got leaked or like they didn't know they were live or something. And yeah, he was just like basically like objectifying some NDP like MLA and
we must not got much of this in Alberta because I was gonna say like I remember reading articles about yay NDP got into power in fucking BC.
Yeah, I mean, this, like, but yeah, so John Horgan was the guy in charge during all that wet sweats and protest shit. Like, it's shit turds all the way down.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we should wrap this up.
I think so. I don't know. It might have been me drinking throughout that, but I ended up having more fun with that than I probably should have.
I loved it.
But...
No, it was 2020 was a year to be remembered and a year to be forgotten in a lot of ways.
It's definitely, it made me at the same time both like hyper aware of my privilege and like almost guilty for it, but at the same time very grateful in the sense that we live in a genocidal settler colonial state that we wiped out a population, but at the same time, and like we are beneficiaries of that. But that whole system that we set up on top of that violence is kind of crumbling, and it's interesting to watch. I feel bad that even though I've benefited from it, I'm also the safest from it crumbling.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, if you look at this year as a whole, I mean, given the area of work that we are in, we definitely didn't suffer in a lot of ways. So.
Yeah, well, I'm lucky. Like I work in healthcare, but yeah, we didn't really it's not medical, so we didn't really bear the brunt of the pandemic. But it is interesting but also, yeah, you're right that like there's kind of two reactions. You can either kind of have that ironic distance, sit back and allow your privilege to insulate you, and you just kind of like joke or laugh. You can take the clown pill and just kind of laugh at it as it burns, Heath Ledger style. Or I don't know. I think it's the harder path, but you could try to use that insulated
make a difference,
kind of safety to help. Yeah, for sure.
What that difference is to you is different to everyone else, but I don't know. when understanding privilege and like doing some of the readings I've been doing, it's just like just do something
just try.
What even if it's just solely benefiting you in the fact that you're just educating yourself or telling your family like
that might help people down the line, right? Like,
yeah, you never know, and it's
you can't get too caught up in like wanting to change the world and the way it works.
No,
because you'll just get burnt out. But if you just try to like help the people around you, whether it's trying to help people be more empathetic or whether it's like literally trying to help people materially, like whatever you can do. And I don't know, as someone who wants to just kind of be in my own little cocoon and watch the world burn, this podcast in a weird way is a way to kind of put my thoughts out there and kind of like want like if any way I can help, I would love someone to reach out to me, you know? Like I just
no, and I think that's important, and it's unfortunate because we live with that such importance of like the social media culture is we do have a lot of people who I think in some ways feel like they're doing a lot by sharing a lot on the social media platforms.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't a shot against those people. I think that they're doing that.
I'm sure it serves some function.
It serves a function,
whether
absolutely,
it's awareness or awareness.
It's got to be.
Everybody's sick of that
it's
word.
got to come to a point where it's got to be beyond that, right?
Exactly.
And I think that's why I like these protests, like the Black Lives Matter protests, and beyond that. It's like, you know what, we're taking this off of our cell phone. We're going out in person and we're doing it that way. It's not like we're posting a black photo on Instagram or we're posting a bunch of stats. And I know that served a purpose. Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's good. And like I'm not shitting on that at all. But I just don't think sometimes anyone should feel like they're a hero because they did that. You know, like
yeah, exactly. Like, well, I guess that's what's been my frustration with it is that like kind of the only outlet we have is that kind of like just the performative like cultural stuff and just the having the right opinions and I got frustrated with that. And so my response was to kind of go insular, but I don't want to be that way. I would like to like try to form connections with people so we can try to improve things around us. It's just.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this year, it didn't help because we kind of had to rely on a lot of this shit.
That's what I mean. I guess that was my biggest frustration with the 2020 is as a guy who's been an online guy and having a lot of my neuroses driven by that. And then this year was at the beginning, I really made an effort to like get offline and I wanted to go out and like form like actual more connections in my community. But yeah, this year was not the year to fucking do that. So it was kind of frustrating.
And I want to do that really badly too. And I think maybe 2021 will be kind of like hopefully a bit of the start of that. If I'm being completely honest, I still think COVID is going to impact this entire year. That's
honest. It's not just going to go away.
It's not going to just disappear. And so it might take some time, but we have cool platforms like this that we've created that's beyond just a fucking normal Zoom chat, right? So at least we have creative outlets that I encourage anyone to do, man. Like,
just do something
it's
for
fun.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that is. I don't know. One last thought is that it is funny for like people being glad for 2020 to be done and bring on. I hope 2021's nice to us. It's just again that's like the perfect. Why would you think all the things that are in motion right now making life suck? Why do you think those just stop for our arbitrary calendar year that we just ran?
Yeah.
But it is nice to have that kind of symbolic refresh. Hopefully we can all come into this more ready to kind of tackle the problems that it comes rather than feeling burnt out by the last one.
Well, I think with the timing of the vaccine was super, like that definitely impacted the idea of the physical year, right? Because it's just like, shit, like now we're getting it. But seeing timeline structures sent out to me anyways of what that looks like, we're in for the long haul, people, because I don't think any just average citizen is going to be getting this vaccine until at least the beginning of summer. Yeah, or next year. But like at the very least, I think the beginning of the summer will actual just normal citizens that don't work in a field that needs the vaccine or are susceptible due to their age or illness.
Oh, that's okay. I'm ready to go Caterpie to Metapod. I'm going to come out in the summer and like a fucking full Butterfree, baby.
Yeah, baby.
Go hermit mode while we're still locked down for the spring. And then if we can't go fucking party in the summer, we'll be ready to rock.
I'm ready for just the socialization part of life to get back into the travel.
Yeah, I just want to go drink beers on the beach with some buds.
Yeah. I hope by June for sure things are back to normal. Done.
Cool.
Alrighty, well, let's.
Yeah, that sounds like looking forward to 2021. Oh.
Yeah, we'll sign off. Happy 2021 to everyone. Hopefully this year is a lot better than the last for y'all.
Yeah, hope it treats everybody well. Treat each other
safe,
well.
Treat each other well. Read a book.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we'll be back next week. Thanks
Most
to
definitely.
all of the people that help us along this journey, and just follow us on.
Yes, this is our journey.
Twitters and the old Instagrams, and give us a like and subscribe on YouTube. And,
yeah, for sure. If you made it this far and if you enjoyed it at all, think anybody else might enjoy it, send it along.
Yeah, and feel free to comment any questions or anything.
Most definitely.
If it offended you, like, comment that too.
Yes, please do. Tell me I'm an idiot. I like to hear it. That's how you grow.
But yeah, Happy New Year, everyone. Talk to you later. Peace.